Hello, everyone, and welcome back to No Bubble Podcast for the first, last, or maybe the second time in your life. I'm George, joined as always by our senior Red Hulk correspondent. It's Mr. Connor Esser, who recently had his birthday. Happy birthday, Connor.
Cheers, man. Thanks.
How does it
Another
feel to
day
be
over
604?
Another day over 21. Not a day over 21, you mean?
Not a day over 20 something or whenever we started this podcast.
Yeah, 2118.
21 AD. 21 AD.
Yeah, 2118.
So there was obviously the Superbowl happened this week. So we'll do. I keep fucking looking over there. It's there. We're gonna run through some of the trailers before we do our Captain America for the much anticipated Captain America: Brave New Soldier, World, Red Man, Angry Harrison Ford, the movie. But how was your week, Connor? I know it's better than most weeks because you aged up again.
Yeah, I've got enough XP to level up to the next age of life. Yeah, I feel all right. Nonetheless, I'm just happy to not be doing the 9 till 5 at least for a week. So that's something. I'm trying to catch up on David Lynch and like who we covered a couple of weeks ago due to his recent passing. So I've just been catching up on him and sort of further exploring his filmography. Films such as Blue Velvet. I've got the Nicolas Cage film? What the hell is it called? David Lynch. I've gone blank. Nick Cage, Nicolas Cage. What on earth is that film called? Wild at Heart. Wild at Heart. Wild at Heart is up for rental, and I've got that to watch. And I'm also redoing Twin Peaks. So David Lynch and Marvel rewatches are massively inbound, or have been inbound. But then obviously by the time we get to next week's episode, Brave New World would have been consumed of 2025 of the MCU. So that will hopefully be like a worthy discussion next week. Yes. Whether we do it or I see it, because at least one of us have to keep up to it, let's be honest. No, it's fine. That'll be next week's big project.
Yes.
Big spoiler-free.
I will see it. I promise you I will see this relatively on time. That's my promise to you. We'll go through. So we'll go through the three previous Captain America films, and obviously because Sam Wilson is Captain America, we'll touch on the events of Endgame at the end, because the Avengers movies themselves, they don't need covering because we've done that numerous times. I think this and Iron Man are one of the only things we haven't covered the previous films of, because Thor. For Love and Thunder, I'm pretty sure we've gone over them. We've gone over most things, haven't we? So yes, we'll talk about that. We'll obviously have to talk about Falcon and Winter Soldier to see where Sam's at now. But first, we had some before I talk about the Super Bowl trailers or the Superbowl trailers, we had two trailers drop like this just after we recorded last week, like a couple of days later. We had our first trailer for Jurassic World Rebirth, and we had a trailer, the first teaser for Fantastic Four: The First Steps. Which one of those were you more excited for, and why was it Jurassic World?
Because it's getting rebirthed after the pile of turd that was the Dominion. It should be Jurassic World Rebirth by default. But no, not just because we're on the Marvel train at all, or because we're certainly anticipating a certain Fantastic Foursome, you might say. But no, Fantastic Four was always going to win that conversation. Hands down. Look at my profile picture, damn it. Fantastic Four was always going to win.
Damn it. Yeah. Great. So we'll do the Jurassic World one quickly. For me, it was like I'd really enjoy this trailer if it was more than 3 years after the last one.
Yeah.
Purely, like we're going back into this world. Sorry to cut you off. It's like, we were there not long ago when you had the whole thing of this is going to be like Avengers, and it's crossing over. We're going to have the original 3 and the old 3, and it's going to be great. But it kind of wasn't. I mean, the vision itself was okay, but had it been like another 3, 4, 5 years, I think I would have been more excited for it.
You know what was missing? I thought from Jurassic Park. Sorry, I felt like it needed another element, and I felt like if a certain Glenn was in the formula, and he was doing the twist again, you might say Jurassic Twister, then I feel then I felt like I would have been more excited about it.
Yeah, Glenn Powell should have been like the Chris Pratt archetype, because you've got Scarlett
Yeah.
Johansson. Scarlett Johansson's the like Pete Postlethwaite slash
Sam Neill,
I guess the Chris Pratt guy. Then like you've got the Sam Neill-ish, just in terms of science, nerdy guy of Jonathan Bailey, and Mahershala Ali in a film that was announced many years after Blade and has come out significantly before it.
Jurassic Blade.
Jurassic Blade. No one's stupid enough. Like just seeing him, I was like, oh, it's nice to see Mahershala Ali in things. And how the fuck's he not been in more since what was it, Moonlight or Green Book, whatever one it was that he won his last Oscar in.
Green Book,
and it
Green
was
Book, 2018 or 19 by that season. Yeah, the film was 2018, but I think he would have won all the awards early 2019.
Yeah, and it's like how has he kind of been tied down to Blade, and then we've ended up here. But it's nice to see him in something. It looks interesting. I know that there's mutant dinosaurs or whatever, and it's like they're going back to the island, probably like Isla, the first one, whatever the one of Isla Sorna is the second island, isn't it? Some shit.
Isla Sorna, Sorna, and then isn't the first island beginning with an N?
Yeah, Isla Nublar is the main one.
Yeah.
One and World and like that trilogy's on, and then like Sorna is the research second island before they moved them to Nublar in Lost World and Jurassic Park 3. But we've at least found one of our big 4DX films of the year, Con, so we'll be able to go and see that in 4DX.
Absolutely.
We'll probably be underwhelmed by it.
Nah, if I don't end up with a bruise, then I'll be underwhelmed by it.
We'll have to wait and see. But yeah, there was another trailer for that, I think. But the Fantastic Four teaser was great. We got the crossover from the Bear and Fantastic Four that we all wanted in terms of Richie as the thing.
Yeah. And he's a chef. He's a food cuisinist. Yeah, he's a food cuisinist.
It looks great. Galactus looks good. The little bits we saw, because it gave away nothing, but we saw enough, but it didn't give away anything of the story. There is rumors that Sue. Sorry, Karen.
Yeah. No, just very quickly off the back of the trailer, Matt Shackman, the director of WandaVision, as soon as the first shot of the elevator opened and you sort of get the different aspect ratios, I literally had WandaVision vibes on film, and to me that's just a winning combination.
With the 4x3 I had fucking Zack Snyder Justice League fucking vibes, and then it like widened out and I was like, oh good, we're not spending the whole movie like this. That's fine.
But the WandaVision did that a lot, except that was the black and white retro TV segments, whereas this is going to be a retro TV film from the looks of it, but just on a bigger scale.
I've been excited for it since he took over, because obviously like John Watts would have been a good choice for it.
For sure. Yeah.
Stylistically, just in terms of the logo change from when it went from Watts to Shankman, and you're like, oh no, this is leaning into the Lost in Time kind of vibe, and this universe that's not set in the 60s, but it's almost like pseudo sort of like future 60s-esque sort of like the old superhero like movies would kind of be done.
Or for those for gamers that have played the Fallout series before everything got nuked, the Fallout universe. Just before it all went to shit. Yeah.
Very true, very true. But yeah, that was so nice. It's nice to see all four of them. I can't wait to see more of because Pedro Pascal's the one that I'm kind of like is he just in it because he's a hot commodity right now, because he's Space Daddy and basically Daddy in all the things he is? Can he work as Reed Richards without them making him too much like a Stark replacement?
Exactly, yeah.
Reed is not that, is he?
No, I saw a couple edits though online, and again, it's nothing against Pedro's good looks or features, but I feel like if he'd shaved his tash and maybe had grayer temple, like sideburny things, all a la Benedict Cumberbatch Doctor Strange vibes, he would look more like Reed. In certain close-up shots and stuff, he would actually look like Reed from a different angle, and it would just be more distinguishable amongst Pedro filmography, because I know Pedro's
Yeah.
very much got a look and feature, but he literally looks not much like the typical Reed Richards. But then, had
Yet.
he or post editing had gone the extra mile to make him look more comic book accurate, yeah, that's just literally the smallest nitpick. Because again, I'm not dissing Pedro at all, and I imagine he will absolutely crush it. But just to address the general concern of, like we say, is he just not going to feel like a certain Downey Jr. replacement? And then are we even going to get them in the same scene and room together in an upcoming film? I don't know. Is it just going to be weird? Is it going to be great? I don't know.
Possibly, but there is only one way to find out, and it is that. Like, if they'd given him too much grey, would he have looked too much like Strange? Like
exactly,
in terms of film, even though you're trying to make him look more like Reed, but then you've had, 3 other different versions of Reed on film, like in terms of Krasinski, Gruffhead, and Teller. So we'll see. I'm still excited for this. Is the one that I'm most excited for. But I've been turned around recently. Have you watched any of the Super Bowl trailers?
No, I've seen snippets of the Thunderbolts, the Dynamo bolts. I've seen little bits.
Oh, Jesus. Sorry, I need to turn this down for copyright reasons. Let me know if you can sort of hear it, but not enough for it to be copyright.
Let's talk facts. The Avengers are
I mean, I can hear it, yeah.
Yeah, well, we'll just make sure we talk over it a little bit. I'll just... Oh, hang on. Do you want the subtitles on?
Sure, why not? The audience, I think, will appreciate it at home as well.
Yeah. Especially when we talk over it and they get annoyed, even though they've probably already seen it.
La 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 la.
So, the argument that is Sebastian Stan too big for this?
Well,
I don't know.
I think
he's
so.
so
Oh my God, David Harbour's bald.
Yeah, shaved head. I like that they're taking the piss out of the power set of the team. Is all basically super soldiers, apart from Ghost, who I'm still convinced will die, because we've seen next to none of her in the promotional stuff.
Oh, as long as John Walker don't die, or Sebastian Stan doesn't die, then I'll be happy.
Yeah, I'm sort of coming around a lot on John Walker, and I think we'll get into that when we talk about all the Cap stuff. Because we've essentially got like 2 Splinter Cell Captain America movies, haven't we? We've got a full-on movie with the new Captain America in that guise as a continuation of the series, and then we've got sort of like what's the other, the other version of Cap gone off to do with all the other versions of Cap. And it's nice to have Sorry, Karen.
No, as I say, as long as both of those half of the Captain America team in the form of Bucky and Sam Wilson can reunite, that would be great. Yeah, the 2 halves of Captain America.
But yeah, I've sort of I'm intrigued because I know that Sentry's in it and he gets sort of a little bit of a glory look at the end. So yeah. And the fact, Taskmaster's barely been in the thing as well. Because is Ola Koryolenko back?
I mean,
and I think the only person that's had the Super Soldier Serum properly is Bucky. Because
Johnny Boy had
a weird version of it from the series, didn't he?
Yeah.
And then
it weren't the actual deal. Yeah.
Red Guardians had some weird Russian mix of it. So them lifting that building is interesting. But it's going to be them working as a team, so why not? Any thoughts on that?
They're working as a team, but for how long for? Is it a one-time deal, or do we want more? I wasn't trying to make that rhyme. No, I mean, I like the look of it. It didn't blow my mind. It didn't rock my socks off. But I mean, I'm happy to see it in a few months' time, May the 2nd.
Dr. Henry Loomis, this is Zora Bennett, our mission specialist.
Oh, ScarJo.
The most pointless movie.
Oh my God, it's a CGI
dragon.
In Iceland or Norway, whether they filmed that. Oh my God. Oh, dragon!
Oh, you want to be a dragon? Yeah, that's the one
Iconic
we're obviously
emulators.
speaking about.
Fantastic. Oh,
Oh, there's a Mission Impossible one.
oh, dun dun, running, running, Tom.
I'm Tom Cruise. There's some snow in snow. Oh, here's the past. What the fuck is up with this knife? Why does it keep coming up in all the trailers?
The knife is the key to all this.
If we can make the knife work, then we can really make. That was a new shot of Pom Clemente doing a spin, and Tom Cruise saying that he would pass out doing that stunt.
Well, I mean, I don't know who wouldn't. From the looks of it. Brad Pitt in a Formula One car movie.
What,
Yeah,
sorry, on
hopefully
the
the Top Gun.
Mission Impossible thing.
Sorry, yes.
Tom
Yeah.
Cruise was asked, like, "Is this your last one?" And he's like, "You're gonna have to go and see it and find out." What, are we thinking they're actually going to kill him off?
Then? No, well, the fact that he's not said, "Yes, guys, I'm telling the truth. It's my last." No, I've got a little bit of doubt now. He's a liar. He's a no. He's a liar.
You're
Thomas,
a fraud,
you're a liar.
Spider-Man.
We're gonna see Tom Cruise, Ethan Hunt maybe dead on the floor, but then the last shot before the credits, or there's no real post credits in the MI franchise that I can recall. It's going to be an iconic face mask thing where the body's going to go over Ethan Hunt, and they're going to take off the mask, and it's going to be another character, implying that Ethan Hunt never really died and he weren't in the movie.
Hunt. His evil brother with a moustache.
Ethan,
or like his parents that were mentioned in the first one.
Oh wow, that would be a cool.
His mother's middle name is Ethan, if I remember correctly from previous
movies. The mum's middle name is Ethan. Okay.
It's something Ethan Hunt is his mother's name.
But, well, there we go then. Maybe so. Tom Cruise in the MI universe for this movie will be played by Ethan Hunt's mother the whole time. That'll be the plot twist to end the franchise on,
and that's how you keep him.
Exactly. So Tom Cruise never loses, but in theory, you did see a lookalike of Tom die. So maybe that's the twist. Maybe we cracked it. All due to Ethan Hunt's mother. Shout out to MI1.
Do you think any of the other main characters are going to die? They keep making Luther look like he's fucking on his last legs.
Yeah,
but I want Ving Rhames to live forever.
Simon Pegg. Do you think
Start the
dare
campaign? Hashtag get Pasty Sheep to the Mission Impossible 8 premiere. Shake hands with Tom Cruise.
Hashtag Pasty Impossible.
Dun 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 dun, and then Connor will do all the flips, and I'll just be Benji, and I'll make the masks.
Okay, sounds amazing to me.
Just like go to Tom Cruise, do a fucking tuck and roll in front of him on the red carpet. That's what we want. That's what you guys want. We need to see this, right? Like 4DX opening day,
midnight premiere as well. Midnight, if that's an option.
Let's get big. Let's make a TikTok this year because the last time we did one was Paul McGann when we went to listen to him live. Mainly because I broke my tripod and the one I've got is just for a proper camera and not the phone. Because I've got like all the steelbooks to open, but I've not posted a thing on there. So we'll get big on there. We'll get to the Mission Impossible premiere and we'll shake hands with Tom Cruise. And you'll do a forward roll in front of him, and that'll be that. And then we can end everything. We can just resign.
End everything. End everything.
Yes.
Jesus.
Just shut down the planet.
We can wear a new sort of face mask for the rest of our lives. In the form of.
We should wear masks. Do you reckon we can get masks of each other?
Oh, we could just get Tom Cruise to make a Glenn Powell face mask, and Tom can get you a mask of whoever you want to be. So when people see us in the street, we're not going to be our average faces. We're going to be whoever we want to look like.
Barack Obama.
Fair play.
Why is the president so short? F1. I'm interested in this. Shall we? Have you seen this one?
Briefly, but Top Gun for cars.
Brad Pitt is gonna Top Gun Maverick, isn't it?
Yeah, more or less.
Have I not put the fucking?
I feel like is it not the same director of Maverick? Yeah, he's the same guy. Yeah, so it is going to be the Top Gun Maverick, but in a car.
Oh, it's just music, so it's probably good that we can't hear it because it's just.
Dun, 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 dun.
This comes out when? May? I mean, they should have timed it so that it came out when the F1 season started, like beginning of March.
Oh, just summer.
Sorry, folks. There's a breaking development.
Oh,
There's
fuck
something
off.
down on the field.
Oh my God, there's a breaking development.
That's
There's
Leo
a thing
Titch.
called Oh, nice. Okay.
I'm interested in the F1 movie just because the fact that they shot it with real race cars and that Brad
Yeah.
Pitt had to do some of the driving. But I don't know if you've seen like the setup when they spoke to him on the F1 channel, like where he had like the cameras in the pit so he could see even like because you've got the halo in the F1 car.
Mm, mm,
You remember that one?
mm.
That's one of my favorite adverts of
Yeah.
all time. The Amateur with Rami Malek. Smurfs, we got to play to our audience.
Novocaine is a Jack Quaid movie that I like the look of.
Was it Novocaine a member of the Bat family, or was that Cassie Kane? Who was that?
Cassie.
Was that bloody Jacob Batalon?
I think he's in some. Yeah, maybe could have been.
On March the 4th is Santa.
What do you think?
Is it a Christmas
Yeah.
movie?
No, well, I don't believe so.
What is the plot of this one,
Essentially-
Connor? Do you know?
Amber Midthunder, who's the main chick, is getting kidnapped by Santa Claus terrorists from the looks of it, and then basically Jack Quaid's got to be the average awkward douchebag that's got to rescue the love of his life.
Yeah.
But I'm guessing he's
don't-
going to become a
Don't
badass in the
ask me if
process.
his dad's Dennis Quaid.
I'm guessing it's going to be like Nobody and hopefully hints of John Wick in a Jack Quaid action movie where he's not playing the dickhead for once.
It's the Smurfs again. Oh, they don't tell me we're doing the plot of the first two Smurfs of the bring the cartoon characters to the real world. Yes, we are. So with the inclusion of Rihanna and the sort of the look of the faces, it's kind of. Is it just? Are they trying to make Smurfs more like trolls?
Yes. Yeah, very much so.
The animation style's okay. It's a bit like the Garfield movie with Chris Pratt last year.
Mm.
But then they're going to do this in the real world like they did the first two Smurf films
The other things. Yeah.
this July. Your kids won't want to see this. If you've got a young child like below the age of 2, oh, but then it goes to the real world, so kids hate that shit. But then no like Sonic, but there was like 4 colourful people with Shadow to watch in the real world.
I'm Papa Smurf's brother. You Smurfs don't know Smurf about Smurf.
I can smurf that smurf up and have it delivered to your house.
That sounds like a load of
Isn't Smurfette was created by the Smurfs because there is no all the Smurfs are blokes. So they create I think
So
no, I
she
think
was- so
Gargamel
she was-
created her.
Also, she was some kind of freak accident. Is that what you're
I think
implying?
either Gargamel created her or they created her with magic. And then it's always implied that she's the only female Smurf in with a big like group of male Smurfs, so she probably gets fucking abused by these other Smurfs. Well, that was cool. Different animation styles.
Oh, yeah.
Swallowed my gum.
Oh, it's the definition of okay, isn't it? Oh, they're in a fucking discount uncopyright version of Uber Eats.
Ahead of time or the lick everything.
An original song by Rihanna, of course. Why wouldn't they be?
You can be my Smurf, Brella. Hello, Smurf.
I don't know what this one is. Is there anything else? There was nothing. There was not really
Was there a
much.
Superman thing? Was there a Superman update or anything? Or
I don't think there was an update. I think did they just show the other trailer? Where is that? So he's in this video. Oh look, an advert. There you go. Sponsored by TUI. This video. Send us some money, TUI. I'll skip your ad. Oh, don't even tell me that he's gonna fucking. It's just a guy talking about it. I'm clicking view the chapter. Oh, there it is. Finally. Oh, it was this one.
Disappointment began early in the day when
Oh, it is. It's
This
just the
was-
same.
No,
Yeah.
it's so he's talking about it, but I wonder if they're going to show it.
We're gonna give you a sneak peek at the Puppy Bowl.
Oh my God, Lex
The
Luthor.
it's called the Puppy Bowl or something.
In fact, the real new piece of footage we got, the guy guarding
Basically,
the bowl.
it's that.
Yeah, okay,
The
I
only-
did see that. Yes, Nathan.
The only bowl I
Nathan
need, and it's
Fillion.
Guy Gardner's hair.
Save a bunch of money by not having something
Hmm.
in the actual Super Bowl. Yeah, because
Yeah, it's just a big
I'd
troll.
say
then,
Thunderbolts
yeah.
probably had the best trailer
That Superman sneak peek
because there was nothing really new in Mission Impossible.
of the Super Bowl trailers released
Um,
today,
and then I'd say F1 second, maybe.
preview was hyped up only to show the
Yeah.
No, I'm here for Jack Quaid and Novocaine. I want that no vaccine, Novocaine. I read it as no vaccine
Novocaine.
first before Novocaine.
Our top three for the Super Bowl.
just because anytime
Miss
people-
Jesus Christ is Novocaine, no, not Mission Impossible. I just said it wasn't good. Thunderbolts, Mission Impossible, and F1. There you go. They were the most well spent of the $100,000 a second or whatever it is in the Super Bowl advertisement space. Shall we get on to Le Captain of America?
Sure. Captain Not So
Um,
Britain. Yes.
Captain Not So Britain. Connor, what are before you saw it, if you can cast your mind back that far in the past,
Yes.
were you aware of the Captain of the Americas?
Yeah, briefly because of Marvel Ultimate Alliance and the brief image I had in my mind of the one Spider-Man animated series cartoon, like 90s cartoon he was in. I think like the Battle World Saga season 5, the last season of the infamous Spider-Man cartoon in the 90s. But I feel like they put random Marvel characters in other media. But yeah, predominantly playing as Captain America in Marvel Ultimate Alliance was my introduction to the character properly. And then, yeah, other than that, Chris Evans, the former Human Torch, was then the modern cinematic beacon icon that he would then become. And whoever, well, we are going to know whoever will be the next Captain America in the form of Anthony Mackie, but whoever would play the next Steve Rogers, way down in our lifetime, like in the future, best of luck. Because Steve Rogers, Chris Evans is a one of a kind portrayal, and that man can't be replaced in my eyes. God damn.
Trying to just put the fucking.
And we ain't even talking about his ass yet. Because god damn, that is America's ass.
Can I make this full screen? I just want that to be the full. I just want it to be full screen. Mike's gonna fucking hate my presentation skills, isn't he? Just fucking do it. Yes. Former Human Torch, Chris Evans playing Captain America. It was the first time it was kind of like a thing where it was like, oh, this is it. This is the guy. He's been a superhero before. There you go. That's the best I can do. How's that? There you go. That's what we're talking about. The old fucking college of everyone's America. I love. So we'll talk about the first one. We'll do them in order. I remember seeing this. I don't think I saw it at the cinema. I think criminally, both 2011, because I wasn't big into going to the cinema at that point as I had been previously. And I was also like 14, 15. So like, yeah.
You had a life. You had a life. Is what
Well,
you
like I
required.
just didn't, I didn't have income to just Cineworld Unlimited cards. I don't think existed, and also I didn't have the income to go and see films once at the cinema, let alone 2 or 3 times. So I think both 2011 outputs from Marvel Studios I watched when they come out on Blu-ray, and so I think I did like a double bill. Like I watched Thor and Captain America: Winter Soldier, and I think I was ill when I watched like this. And I had such a fucking nice time with it. Like it's such an underrated MCU film. It's one of the better, origin films, not just in the MCU, but in terms of, superhero movies in general, I think. I love the stuff with the past. It's so well done. The way that it then matches up, and you get the story beat of him coming back to modern day. I think the supporting cast are great, so much so that most of them have returned in subsequent movies and are still in it in some capacity. And if not, there's relatives of these characters in terms of Peggy. We've had what if scenarios that come back to this moment. Like, this is I think, one of the most iconic sort of like looking MCU films, because obviously it's a period piece. Red Skull's great, a villain that's, you know, heavily underutilized, but has since come back, albeit voiced by Ross Marquand these days instead of Hugo Weaving. I think it's the start of a really strong trilogy, one of the strongest in the whole MCU for sure, and if not superhero movies and beyond that, possibly just movies in general, would you say?
Yeah, yeah, you sort of hit the nail on the coffin. It's not only accessible, it's whether you watch it in any order, timeline order, phase one order, or you just want to, you know, whack this on in your watch along. Like, yes, this is one of the more accessible movies. You haven't got to watch 5 things in order to get everything out of it. Unlike the unfortunate scenario of the MCU nowadays, where it does feel like you've got to watch at least 7 or 8 things to fully comprehend what's happening in front of your very eyes. This takes you back. It also introduced us. Well, yeah, I take that back. The Russos were only in Winter Soldier. This is Joe Johnston who helmed
of famous
this
Jurassic
movie.
World 3 fame, Jurassic Park 3 fame. Sorry, before it was a world.
Original Jumanji, the Wolfman remake before this 2024/25. If you're watching it in the UK version of the Wolfman, Honey, I Shrunk the Kids as well. Joe Johnston. But yes, yeah, just it's Chris Evans before with the Human Torch. He was kind of just there. He was fine. Obviously, he was younger. He had less hair, so he was a different being. And when I found out that Chris Evans already did this shtick before Steve Rogers, my mind was blown. Even at similar ACU 14-15, I was really just kind of gobsmacked by it, because he comes across as an actor and as a person just so much different between 2007 and then this being 2011. Like, he just comes. It is like a parallel Chris Evans. It don't even feel like the same actor, the same man that was in those films.
Yeah, well, it's a man that didn't really want to do it, did he? He didn't want to get tied down to the fact of this was a multiple picture deal,
A bit
and he
on
just come out of
contract,
doing
yeah.
2 like heavily undervalued Fantastic Four films. So I'm surprised that he then was like, "Oh no, Cap, I'll like do this." But we're obviously so glad he did, because we got an amazing, 7 feature films out of him, and cameo appearances and bits and pieces here and there. But like, this is the start of it, and I think his performance here. Sorry to like interrupt you, like when you were talking, but it really lends itself to the evolution of the character and the growth. Because I think if this performance doesn't work, it's then hard to then sell the rest of it, because it's his morals and his basically every aspect of the character comes from him here. Like what he's like, like how he holds himself. I don't like bullies. That's basically it. Like it comes from here, and this has to carry on. And you have to believe that character. Then when he goes into another time and he's a fish out of water, that he still stands by those morals that he had in the 40s, and he still strives for those things that he wanted, albeit he has evolved and become a man who, while out of time, is then a product of all time, essentially. Like, he's a 1940s man with the knowledge and everything that he's done from 2012 or whenever he's unfrozen, technically in canon onwards. Like, he is meant to represent all of America in all aspects, and that's what the ideology of what America should be, both during the war and in present day. And I think he dances through those like spectacularly, and it always down to, I think, this first performance. I think it's so underrated. It's one of my favorites.
Yeah, no, for sure it is. But I do think, as well as Chris Evans getting all the praise and Captain America obviously having to work because it's in the title, I do think the supporting cast, as you mentioned previously, also does a huge role and supporting back to make this film better than it should have been as well. Haley Atwell, Peggy Carter, the love of Steve Rogers' life, but also Chris Evans. Who knows? No, they're not married, unfortunately. However, I will always ship those two. Hugo Weaving, another actor that, again, has no sense been portrayed in the form of voice, and Ross Marquand, but it's a shame that we haven't had any more Hugo Weaving, and whether or not that's just down to decisions and the whole not being tied down to a big old contract. But if we could get Hugo Weaving to do something in the future, like preferably on screen, that would be great for me. Because again, the Red Skull, not to say that any of the other Captain America villains aren't particularly standout or, as impressive, but then for an introductory movie, I mean, the Red Skull is pretty much the perfect one, and not just because of the setting and him basically being the embellishment of the Nazis at the time, and basically what the Red Skull could have been if Hitler had fucking superpower ambitions. Because I mean, that's what the character represents to me anyway. Evil Hitler with the Red Skull.
Like,
no,
you think he was bad? Here's a mad scientist version of him.
Toby Jones, Sebastian Stan, Dominic Cooper, even Stanley Tucci. Everyone's really stand out in this. There's not a bad performance all round. Even Natalie Dormer, who is sort of like a brief love distraction in the saga of Peggy and Cap for about 10 minutes. She had a great little supporting role in it. No, I just think everyone did a really good introductory job, and a lot of these actors were kind of not introduced to me through this, but when I think of those actors I mentioned in their filmography, like, this is a standout one for everyone, not just Chris Evans's career. It's just a really standout, like you say, accessible standout origin story that is better than most, even to this day. It's doesn't lean into the war movie aspects like too much, but it's respective of what it does. Although again, you're not here to watch a war movie, it does kind of skirt over some.
Yeah, but I like all of that though.
Like war movie, but it sort of montages through most of the whole war movie aspect of it. But you say, I like that it doesn't get too entrenched in America versus Germany, and it is a guy who just wants to stand up to bullies, but he has to do it across, originally just across the battlefields of Germany, but then due to circumstances that blew my 13-year-old mind at the time, was the fact that he got frozen in ice, and he was split from the love of his life, and they never got to live together, get that happily ever after. Or do they? But we may get to
that. That is a tragic sort of line, isn't it? I had a date, and then it ends.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I had a date. And it's just, that whole line, it just made me, every time I watch it, it makes me just go, oh, that's depressing.
Yeah.
It really, every time.
But it is such a joyous and uplifting movie in terms of what they do. It's where it's set, and as tragic as the ending is for him, it's better for everyone because of him, everyone is alive. The States didn't get bombed by Hydra and things like that. So, and him as a character lived on and inspired characters in this universe. Like Coulson was a big Captain America fan. He's a hero that they sorely need right now, which is why he gets recruited to the Avengers. I love Chris Evans in this. It's not his best performance, but to start out in your first of a 6-7 film arc, to start like this and work well, he can then just build upon for the rest of his films that he's in. It's just so easy for him to build upon that, just evolve, and it's amazing to see. I'd say it's sorely underrated. It's like a 7 out of 10 for me. This film, it is they do unfortunately montage, like you say, over the best bits of the war stuff. Commandos are hunting down Hydra. because that would have been a film in itself. But it
Absolutely,
kind of like
absolutely.
zips along pace once like you have the origin and things, and it's a bit like that. I loved it. I really fucking love this film, and Tommy Lee Jones is fucking good in it as well. And it's the whole point of proving it's not about being strong; it's about being a good man, because good becomes great, bad becomes worse. In Erskine's speech to young Steve, would you give it?
I'm like a 7.5, but close to an 8. It's a really accessible one. And I feel like I'm being generous. I'll give it an 8 because again, it paves the road for, as we will cover very, very, very shortly. A run of unmatched stuff.
Yes.
This is the blueprint. This is the blueprint for it all.
Loved it. Fucking do this. I've got too many fucking tabs open now. Magnify.
What a gorgeous picture.
Fuck it. There you go. There you go. That'll be alright, won't it?
Yeah.
So we've previously done, I think, very early days. We're probably vastly overdue for another ranking or our old World Cup system we used to do. Captain America: Winter Soldier has always been one of my favorite films. Hang on, sorry, my fucking monitor things in my shoe. Jesus. Has always been one of my favorite MCU movies. I can at this point probably say it is still my favorite MCU movie of all time. Like, I fucking love this film. This film is amazing. It's at the point where, so phase 2, we'd had to build up 5 different films. We had an Avengers film, then we come back a year later. We've got an Iron Man film, then a Thor sequel, and I know those are done by different directors to their previous entries, in the likes of Shane Black and Alan Taylor. But it wasn't until April 2014 when the MCU kind of hit that thing of, there's more style to it. It's not just, because it kind of started out with Jon Favreau doing his thing for Iron Man, and that sort of sets up the style of the world and the universe. So then Louis Leterrier sort of builds on that and doesn't mess around too much with it in terms of what he does in The Incredible Hulk. Joe Johnston has the freedom of setting most of his film in the 40s, so it doesn't have to immediately line up with the world that they've got, but has to sort of be on a place to get to it. Thor obviously is set predominantly in space, so again, it's the freedom of Kenneth Branagh to make it, just make it like its own thing, and it's not happening on Earth, so it doesn't have to necessarily match up. But then after the Avengers come together, and at that point, as much as what's his name? Who directed Avengers? Why am I forgetting it? Because he's a knobhead.
Joss Whedon.
Joss Whedon, of course. Thank you. As much as that man, is great at ensembles, other horrible stuff he's done, like that come together, and that felt like an amalgamation of all the things that had happened, and it blended it well. But then to go back out there into their own franchises, like Shane Black tried something different with Iron Man. I think Iron Man 3 is good enough. Same with Thor: The Dark World. It's good enough, but it was very it's the Game of Thrones guy, so make it more Game of Thronesy. And it was at that point where it's like they were about to go into the formula of we'll do everything and then you just come in and do everything else, which they've kind of sort of seemed to have fallen into here and there with other films, unless they've got gone out their way and got a Chloe Zhao or John Watts is very the Spider-Man are very sort of hampered by the fact that it's being done between Sony and Marvel, so there's not a lot left for him to sort of interject with. But the Russo brothers come in and I think completely just ripped up everything, and they took everything that worked about the first one, they times it by 100. They lay the groundwork for the evolution of the characters, not just Cap and Black Widow, but like you get this is the first introduction. And before at this point in time, I've seen Brave New World and before obviously the existence of Falcon and Winter Soldier. Like it's the most I've liked Sam Wilson in terms of his
The
use.
Falcon. Yeah. the
It,
Falcon.
like introducing that sort of ever expanding world and roster of people that would become Avengers, because there are these side characters that just exist in other comics and are just dotting about all over the place. The fact that also it had such a big impact on the rest of the universe going forward, in terms it was the first real change, because it was like everything we knew up to that point was Hydra was bad, but they were dead because they were the Nazis. But then everything we've known that is good has actually been Hydra infiltrated from way back when. Like there has been, since Bucky fell off that train, there has been something going on. And Robert Redford's a great villain.
deceit.
You up?
So I was gonna say, like, lies, deceit, treachery, everything good was a lie. And they always say good prevails over evil, but really the seeds and the undercurrents was there the whole time. But even behind enemy lines, so to speak, like behind closed doors,
Yes.
it was a seed that even to the modern day at that point of 2014, it was just a seed waiting to be planted. And that's the whole, in a nutshell, the quick plot of the Winter Soldier. It's the Hydra seed ready to unload and almost beat the goodies from within. And then, the Winter Soldier being their weapon to defeat the good guys of America. But then the twist is, like, as you mentioned just then previously, it's the form of Cap's best friend from Captain America First Avenger, Bucky Barnes. And it's that shocking revelation that, completely changes the game of, the things going forward. Because that even is Steve's arc for Civil War, which again we'll get to, because everything changes with Bucky. Everything changes with Bucky.
Oh, no, we've got this. No, we've got so. Hello?
Yeah, hello. Did I cut out?
Hello. It literally cut out like just briefly. So we've done so well to get to this point. Sorry, mate. Can you just say that bit again, what you were saying?
No. So yeah, basically Hydra was a seed of evil that basically was going to beat the goodies from within. And essentially that's what the Captain America Winter Soldier movies are about in a quick nutshell. But then adding layers upon that is the shock of the Winter Soldier being Steve's friend, Bucky, from the first movie. And of course, that very revelation changes the events going forward forever. Dun, dun, dun. And even sets him up for Civil War.
It does. It lays the groundwork for the stuff that happens to then roll into Civil War, which then, rolls into Avengers movies. And this had a profound effect on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. because that whole thing that was going on, and then the revelation that, the S.H.I.E.L.D. agents were working in an infiltrated company that whole time. Sebastian Stan coming back and being one of the scariest villains in terms of the Winter Soldier, that people will argue has been a bit too much. Like, in terms of recently, like, we had flashbacks to him however many times, the whole thing with the hypnosis, but since being cured of that now, and that chapter's officially done, I'm looking forward to how he gets on in the Thunderbolts, which you obviously previously talked about. I am still gutted that at this point in time, having not seen the movie, that as far as we know, he's not in Captain America Brave New World, because I think the world always needs a Cap and a Bucky, and that was kind of the nice
100%.
sort of chapter closing that we got to in Falcon and Winter Soldier. So
we need that reunion. We do,
and I hope it is sooner rather than later, because the gaps between single films and the things linking into it in terms of the main guys is getting bigger and bigger. Like, we haven't had a Shang-Chi movie for 4 years, and that was a character that come on the scene and was interesting. It's now 4 years later and we're only just following up Sam, and then we're getting a story with Bucky, but they're not together. But that's beside the point. We'll get to that a little bit. This film is as close to perfect as I think you can get. It's the espionage stuff that has lent me to sort of, I was excited to a point for Black Widow. Before it's mainly flashbacks, so there's not much stake in the game. but I
Yeah.
like those versions of the story where it's an espionage, don't know who to trust thing, because that's very much the vibes from the trailers for Brave New World. That it's kind of playing off of this sort of thing. Obviously, the direction of the Russo brothers was so good that they immediately got the sequel to this, and then got at that point 2 Avengers movies. But there's another 2 that they're doing, and possibly they're being touted for X-Men, which, for better or for worse, you be the judge, you people from viewers from the future. But
Yeah.
I love this film so much. Like I know that there are some great films in the MCU, but I think if you did like your Mount Rushmore of MCU films,
Oh, this absolutely is on it. This
I'd
is on
say
it.
it'd be Iron Man 1. I'd say you'd probably have to have Avengers 1 on there, because that was the first thing. 'Cause that
Yeah.
was the first thing of this working, and it is still a good movie. Like, and out of it would make more sense to have one than it would have to Infinity War or Endgame, because they are 2 parts. You can't really have one without the other. And then I'd say maybe Guardians, because Guardians then really brought the space aspect into line with everything else and made it all sort of like, oh, this can work at home and fucking in space. And also is another fantastic trilogy.
Both 2014 movies, yeah. Both Guardians 1, Winter Soldier. Yeah, Infinity War and Endgame's a tussle, but then, like you say, you can't really have one without the other. So, yeah, shove them at number 3. And then a 4th movie. If I was trying to be something a bit more,
Iron Man's
recent,
got to be on it in some capacity. But yeah, go.
Post Infinity Saga. I'm trying to go semi-recent.
Do you think we've had? Sorry, you think we've had a Mount Rushmore level Marvel film post?
For me, this is
Endgame?
my Mount Rushmore, or what I would hope we'd get similar heights to. Now I've really put myself on the spot. I'm gonna go and say, I'm gonna say Shang-Chi. I'm going to say Shang-Chi as a Mount Rushmore movie. I really, really, really dug it. And it's annoying to me that 4 years on, we've had no proper update.
Yet.
Hopefully we'll get some sort of update resolution and things going forward. Yeah, and I want to shout out No Way Home, but I can't, because that's a legal mishmash between Sony, and obviously Sony are a fucking awful company that have ruined the Spider-Man universe, i.e. their own universe. So I can't really include them on that. But regardless, we're detracting massively from the topic at hand.
No, but people like when we do that, or they don't, and if they don't, well, sorry. But yeah, it's in terms of like a second film being there are sequels that are better than the originals or on par with.
Yes.
So this isn't anything new, and we're not saying that this invented that, but like, it's for a superhero movie for a second one in a trilogy to be that good. I think you'd go for the only one that I think's held up in terms of the first one was really good and the second one was even better would be Spider-Man 2. There is argument obviously for X2 being good, but like that was a lot better than like there's a progression there, but also I don't think that's held in as high regard. Just because it kind of wasn't anyway, even though it started us on one of the ones that started us on this journey, but also because of events involving said director of those 2 films. It's then for a lot of people, if you can't detract art from the artist, it's then a bit of a it's a good film, but it's also made by a knob, so that's an unfortunate thing for it. But this is one of the best superhero sequels. Obviously it doesn't touch the amazing just general sequels to films like your Godfather 2, The Dark Knight, third thing here, like all
Batman
those kind
Returns.
of things.
That's your third thing, Batman Returns.
Yeah, but Batman Returns isn't as unanimous as like everyone's like, oh, you see Batman, you got to watch The Dark Knight. You know what I mean? Like, oh, The Godfather 2 is one of the best movies ever made. Like those kind of things.
Empire Strikes Back.
Empire Strikes Back, yes, of course. Sequels, best second movies in the comments or in the atmosphere of internet.
No, Clint Eastwood. That Western trilogy is I can't.
Oh yeah, Fistful of Dollars, A Few Dollars More, and Good, Bad, and the Ugly.
The Good, the Bad, the Ugly. That's the third one, isn't it? Yes, it's the third. Shit, I thought it was the second movie. Yeah.
I believe. I'm sure Mike who is much more knowledgeable than either of us, will tell me if I'm
The
wrong.
cowboy that is
I'm
Michael. will
pretty
know-
sure the
he can
second
correct
one
us.
is a few dollars more. Tell
Yeah,
us, Mike,
yeah.
if I am
believe you're
wrong.
right as well. Yeah, no, I think you're
but
right.
I think, Connor, as much as it's very hard in terms of when you give films an arbitrary score, which at the end of the day means nothing unless you like it yourself, it's
Yeah.
very hard to sort of give this anything less than a 10 out of 10. Because every time I watch it, I fucking rock with this shit. I love it. I think the pacing's great, the editing's good, the close combat fight choreography is amazing. I mean,
The
to the point like
tension.
the stealth stuff on the boat at the start, like completely. It's like it's
Oh,
Captain America, but nothing like the first film. Like
nothing
this
like you
is
saw
him in
before.
the modern
Yeah.
world, and
Yeah.
it's him post Avengers and him on this journey that between him and Stark, they have the best character stories and journeys in the MCU at this point so far. Then the
Yes.
only two that
Yeah.
have a complete story, and at this point, Chris Evans isn't coming back for a secret Battle World Avengers thing. I'd be surprised if we didn't have a cameo of a version of Cap, not necessarily our Cap, but a Cap played by him that would get killed off on Battle World or something. Like
Captain Hydra, evil Captain America. You know what? Winter Soldier. What if had Hydra won this movie and it is Captain
Maybe,
Hydra,
yeah.
or like
Yeah,
a close
possibly.
recreation of
But
that, or something
yeah,
along
but
that
not
line.
mess with the character too much, because like
No,
the fact that we can have every single character essentially in like Doomsday or Secret Wars, and you're telling me that the man who birthed this universe and carried it on his back and got paid $150 million every time, you're telling me Robert Downey Jr. is not going to be there as a version of Iron Man. I believe that we will see a Chris Evans Captain America, albeit possibly brief. But this, 10 out of 10, no notes, 8 and left, no crumbs. Fucking, I love Winter Soldier, and that's all that I really have to say about it. Is that I love this film, and it's one of the few that I can watch at any point and be like, yes, there's a bigger story at
Absolutely.
play, but in terms of the story, just in terms of Hydra's infiltrated it and Cap's on the run, that's all you need to know, and I love it.
It absolutely saves the early momentum of Phase 2 because, as we mentioned, Iron Man 3, Fall to Dark World, yeah, they're all right. But, you know, coming off of the massive highs that was 2012's Avengers, to then follow the year after with two relatively okay sequels, but also, like in Iron Man's case, like the ending of that trilogy at that point, which Iron Man 3's ending, make what you will of it going forward. But Iron Man 3 ending at that point was completely fine in my eyes, and it kind of then shut that story off. But then, shot themselves in the foot with Age of Ultron and the whole suit of armor around the world. Oh, I thought you retired. I'm back. Anyway, and For the Dark World by nowhere means was a closing gap. It was just a continuation of what came before. But both of those films didn't really generate a sense of excitement or carry any momentum per se. But as we mentioned previously, the Russo brothers just came along, changed the game, took that script, put it out the window, and put their label on the action movie genre forever, and let alone superhero movies going forward. And, just completely redefined what a Marvel movie was at that point. And just like we keep saying, every time we whack the Winter Soldier on, even I watched this a couple of days ago, it's very hard to not just get absorbed into this particular movie for me. It's just bad fucking ass. It's really good. Like this whole movie is America's ass. This is what American filmmaking should be. And this is an action American movie. This is what it should be, damn it. and it's just
Sorry, Karen.
Great clap. No. I literally was done. Just a great almost cap off, except it wasn't the cap off because we had because we had a war about who was going to cap off this trilogy. But guess what? It had everyone in it. Everyone was in it.
I also am a big fan of the Stan Lee cameos in the Captain America movies. Like the first one where he's at Army General, I was like, I thought he'd be taller. And then in this one, I am so fired. Big up Stanley. Wherever you are on that astral plane out there, man, I hope you're smiling down and not fucking stressed about anything and up there with Jack and everyone. Civil War. Let me try and find an image that's not a poster. I mean, it feels right to go with Team Cap, but that's literally half of Bucky's face. Have we got a?
No.
Would you say that's a better one? Let's have a fucking look at that. That's really small. That's going to be pixelated.
That's an underrated set of heroes.
They're all fucking small. Brilliant.
Boo.
Oh, there we go.
That's big
Hang on.
Big hero, yeah.
There we go.
Underrated set of heroes, all of those characters. Well, minus Cap, obviously.
I just
Or
fucking...
both Caps.
Both caps. No cap. Fuck off. Why have I done that? So what did you give Winter Soldier?
I like you a 10. Just it's great. I watch it any time of the week, every time I'm down, and when I'm fucking buzzing about Marvel, I just whack it on, even if it's only for 5 minutes, and I just get that sense of like America, F yeah, like badass movie.
Wow. Oh dear. It's technically footage.
Whoa.
Yes. So I'm just gonna leave it like that. Fuck it. Captain America, the Civil War. Only 2 years later, we have another. No, didn't want to do that. Why have I... Oh no, what have I done? Anyway. Oh fuck off, Connor. What am I doing?
How dare you swear at me?
Sorry. How much is that dog in the mirror? On the mirror? Dun dun. There you go. Bucky's not in it, but just know he's there. He's over here somewhere.
In spirit. In spirit.
Close. Fucking hell! Look how many tabs I had to open. That's the automatic tab opening. Fuck off. Captain America: Winter Soldier. 2 years later, post Avengers: Age of Ultron, when the seeds have started to be sown of this film, because this film, I think, was this 2014 or 2015 Comic Con when we got the Phase 3 slate, was originally under the Serpent Society title, which everyone was like, okay, cool, excited for that. And then by the end of the announcement, it looped back round and like Kevin Feige come out and went, still not sure about that title. Is it for Captain America? Is there something else that we got that we can run? And it came up Civil War. And then Downey Jr. comes out. He signed a deal for a starring role. Essentially, like he's also said in interviews that as much as it's Cap 3, it's also Iron Man 4. It's, you know, the two head protagonists of the MCU facing off in a story that, you know, in name only to a lot of people is Civil War, because it's the simplest version it can be in terms of this is how you get the heroes to turn against each other. The version of the Superhero Registration Act, the Sokovia Accords in this case, because of an accident that occurs while the Avengers are doing work in Lagos. Scarlet Witch accidentally sets the bomb off on the building, so then they have to be regulated. And because of how far they've come in the story, you get why each character sides on what side they do, especially in Cap and Iron Man. You know, like Iron Man started off as this like chauvinistic playboy and has come around to the fact of like, we need to be put in check. So whatever that means, I'm game, because he just wants to keep the Avengers together. And Steve's very much on the side of like, you know, this, you know, gives up our right to choose, and us being able to choose is what makes us able to save people. We shouldn't be regulated. We shouldn't be sent out on whatever mission the UN deems necessary for our response. It should be, there's trouble and we save the day, and you just completely get why they've got to that point. In a time where a very similar film where two superheroes faced off against each other, one in blue, one in a tech suit, in Batman v Superman: Dawn of Jaundice, because you'd not had those at this point 8 years of building from that first movie to here. It's you like, as much as those characters stand for similar things yet opposing in their way around it, it's less relatable because we've also seen these characters grow. Like there's a point where maybe Steve in 1940 would have probably signed it, and Tony at the beginning of Iron Man wouldn't have signed it. But through their journey, they have taken the journeys they have, and they have arrived at this point, and it completely makes sense thematically where they're at. I can wholeheartedly believe 100%. And in terms of like, you get why the characters side with each other, because Cap does it like for Wanda's best interest, because then she's basically under lockdown. Sam obviously is on his side because they're best friends, so like they're not going to, you know, go against each other. And the same with Bucky. Like he does this to save Bucky because Bucky's framed for assassinating King T'Chaka, which is an action that puts Black Panther on Iron Man's side. You get the Black Widow's sort of on Stark's side to save her skin, but also she's more or less a Team Cap player. The Team Cap is basically where everyone should be. It's just Team Iron Man is essentially where everyone is in terms of being able to keep like doing what they want to do and not be under house arrest like a majority of these characters end up being, which is I like that the events of this, like the house arrests of Pym, Barton, like they roll over into sequel movies and TV shows and things like that, and it all comes back to this. This is Cap movies are apparently really good turning points for stories. So God knows what we're going to get on the day that this episode is released, because will Cap 4 produce yet another spin for the story of this universe? Sorry, I rambled on a bit there, but that was passion.
No. I mean, this Civil War conflict in name is basically order and free will. Free will in the truth, justice, and American way that Cap represents, in a very broad nutshell, and then to go over what you've just went through with the whole Sokovia Accords and the Registration Act. It's not Iron Man particularly following orders, but like you say, he believes there should be control and conditioning and sort of regulations and checks. And that's where, as you mentioned previously, along with the 8 years of build up we had previously, you understand why each person makes their each decision respectively, but then it does ultimately leave heads amongst each other, and that's why they end up having a so-called civil war, a la in name only. But again, this movie, this has the weird Spider-Man, like brief tangent, but this has the weird Tom Holland Spider-Man trilogy effect of that trilogy kind of being an origin story of like that run that Tom Holland will hopefully continue in future. This, although is the Cap end of this trilogy on paper, as you just said at the end of your tangent, this is a callback and an origin point for a lot of the characters that then had sequel series or other films. They all, like you say, they all come back to this moment. It comes back to this decision. It ultimately, this whole film affects Phase 3 and ultimately where the Infinity Saga goes as a whole. But it's also for those that are still post Phase 4 or in Phase 4, and the sort of ramifications of the Infinity Saga still kicking in. This movie is a callback, I guess, to each player making their own decisions for them as individuals and not just being more than just the team player. But yeah, a lot of great moments in this anyway. Again, it's the Russos back in the helm, directing more badass action sequences. Same momentum, same energy, just on a slightly bigger scale, because heck, this isn't just a Captain America movie. This is Avengers 2.5. This is everyone's practically in this, minus Ant-Man, Ant-Man, what am I about? Minus, who the hell isn't in Civil War? I've gone blank. Hulk and Thor, which gets explained in there. Yeah, which then gets explained in that third movie, Ragnarok, which, if Mount Rushmore was extended to a fifth pike of comedy, then that would be on my Mount Rushmore for me. I love Ragnarok too much.
True.
Yeah, everyone's in it minus those two. And it's a shame the other two weren't in it, because if Hulk and Thor were in this, who do you think they would have sided? Like, do you think Hulk would have been with Steve or Hulk would have been with Tony? And Thor would be with
They could have fallen on either side, really. I wouldn't be surprised to see Thor on Team Cap and Hulk on Team Iron Man, just purely out of the way they work similarly. But also, Stark has an amazing way of alienating his friends in completely accidental, it seems, circumstances, and trying to build he's already like distrust started to appear, like we say, in Age of Ultron, like the creation of Ultron and going behind the scenes back to do that, trying to put a suit of armor around the world, and that scene I come back to in Age of Ultron when they're at Hawkeye's house when they're chopping the wood, and he's like, every time someone tries to stop a war before it starts, innocent people die every time. And then you get that whole sort of spark of, like they're on the same side, but the way they're going about it you know, it's completely different ideologies kind of thing. And like you get
yeah.
Cap's what is it? Because I think Tony says to him like, "I don't trust anyone without a dark side," and he's like, "Maybe you just haven't seen it yet." And like, there's a bit of back and forth like that, and that sort of has built from the movies previously and the situation they're in because of Tony like going behind the scenes back to do stuff, and then that builds and then rolls over into this, and then these actions roll over into Infinity War and why the Avengers aren't a complete unit at that point, and essentially why Thanos wins in that first movie is because of events that started the ball rolling here. We do get a good introduction of Spider-Man, a scene that has been like completely redone, but with Norman Osborn in. I don't know if you've seen Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man.
I
The
have
new
actually
animated
not.
one.
Yet. No, I've not yet.
There's a scene that it's completely set in a different universe, but there's a scene where Peter Parker, even like the shot is the same when he walks out the elevator into the room, and then he turns around,
seen
he's like,
that
this
clip,
crazy
yeah.
car outside, and
It's
it's Norman Osborn.
Norman Osborn, isn't it, instead of Tony? Yeah, I've seen that
Yes.
brief on Instagram, I believe. But yeah,
Yeah.
other than the actual show, I've not seen any of it. Is that just a shot recreation for that particular scene, or is there
Just
a
for
lot
that,
of
yeah. Nothing else is that I've seen yet has been because it was like the same music and everything and the same framing. People to sort of go that,
exactly. It looked
like
very
Tony's
strong,
going to be in it, and it's like no, it's Norman Osborn at this point because this is a different universe because they're confused because Doctor Strange comes through a portal early on, and that the spider comes through that portal with him and then bites Peter. Is essentially
Oh, right.
what I've had out of that so far. I've not sat down and completely done it properly yet. So but there's also a weird release schedule. It's like 3 episodes every few weeks. So I don't know.
Okay, makes sense.
But in terms of this, like you say, because I think was this sort of set up more for Civil War because they knew they were getting the Avengers gig. So it was like, can you handle the ensembleness of that, of these multiple characters in this big sort of culmination finale that will all need their own moment? And I'd say the handling of this in terms of like scale, I think it's handled fine. It feels as much as it's a sequel to Captain America, it feels less like a Captain America film than the previous two because you've obviously got it's like an Avengers film. Everyone will always say it's like an Iron Man sequel because it's also Tony's story inside of the story. You've got all these characters that need their own bit of the spotlight. It's a story carrying on like what happened with Bucky, and like you're following on from Sokovia because it's the first appearance of Zemo. But
Oh yeah,
I think it's one of the better balanced ones. I think there's points obviously in Infinity War and Endgame that it's like we've got a bit too much going on, so not everyone's going to have as much screen time as we or they probably would like. But I think it's handled perfectly well and proves their capability for the Avengers films. But it's another really strong, well-made movie. It's arguably better made and like bigger in scope and scale and story than the others. But in terms of a Captain America film, I still prefer Winter Soldier over this one.
Winter Soldier. Yeah.
So I'd say this is all right. So I'll say first Avenger is like an 8. This is a 9, and Winter Soldier's a 10.
Yeah. Yeah, I gave First Avenger an 8. Yeah, Winter Soldier's a 10. Then you're not just to copy what you said, but yeah, this is a damn strong 9. But then that's mainly because you say this is less of a Cap movie and more of a everyone's awesome kind of movie, and oh my god, characters are getting moments type deal, as opposed to being an individual masterpiece.
Yes.
But yeah, good
but
shit.
I could also like say is like, you know, I like all of these films. It's not a thing of like First Avengers the worst, but I can enjoy them all like for their merits. It depends like what exactly I want to watch. So but they are still 3 very well made filmes. Now we must pick a suitable picture. It's got to have them 2 in it. Do you know what? I'll go for this one, I think.
Mark Skywalker Hamill. Oh,
Mark,
yeah.
fuck off. Why are you doing this to me? There we go. We'll go for that one.
No.
So at the end of Avengers Endgame, the shield was passed to Cap. From one Cap to the next Cap, as it is so often in the comics. Sam is one of the characters that takes up the mantle of Captain America post Steve Rogers. Other than Bucky, and there's another one. There's another Captain America that I can't think of right now, which people are furiously screaming at me or throwing at the comments at me. But people that will argue that stuff's too woke now and everything's bollocks and all, it's just trying to be fucking inclusive for inclusive sake. It's not. It's really not. Here's why I think Sam Wilson is a better choice than Bucky. Bucky was still going through a lot of shit. He wasn't necessarily in the best place to take up the role of Cap. I like that he's even at the point where he says, like, you know, if someone needs to do it, I'll do it. Like, I think he says in episode 2 when they finally meet up. Like, if someone has to do it, like, I'll do it. Just purely because of the legacy of Steve and carrying that on. At this point, as far as we know, Steve's not dead, is he?
No,
They make the
but
joke that he's
even
in the moon or something.
yeah, it's the last sort of confirmation of what we know of Steve. I guess in any timeline is the whole jokey thing about, oh, tell me what happened with you and Peg, and he's like, I don't think I will. Is that just him being coy, or is that just I can't tell you because if I do, I'll break the laws of time, and I'm a Time Lord now, and I'm better than you.
And I look like
because
Joe Biden.
I'm more than human. Yeah, I'm more than human. I'm more than America now, damn it. But in regards to who's been Captain America, I suppose in the comics, I'm guessing this is mainly 616. But Steve Rogers, Bucky Barnes, John Walker, Sam Wilson, Jeffrey Mace. Again, I'm not.
Yeah, I think that was the
unfamiliar
one I
with
was
the
thinking
character.
of.
And then William Burnside and a William Naslund. I'm
Okay.
unfamiliar with those three.
And we have the unofficial hidden version of Captain America in Isaiah Bradley. So we have essentially 4 different
Yes,
versions of
yes.
Cap in this show. This Falcon and Winter Soldier, a 6-part Disney Plus series that came out in 2021. That 2 years after we saw the shield being handed over from Steve to Sam, like, I'll do my best. It's like, and because we get a callback to the thing of like, you're a good man, Sam, which is, you know, what Erskine says about Steve, like, not to be like strong, but it's about being a good man and making
Being a
good,
good
great,
man,
being the best you can be, kind of thing.
If only
But
Erskine said that to Peter Capaldi when he needed it the most.
am I a good man, Stanley Tucci? I think yes. I think you're a good man. I can cook a spectacular ravioli, drink some wine, and look sexy with my bald head. Steve, Bucky, Sam. Yes. Like Bucky's at a point, like, you know, Bucky is traditionally the one that takes over from Cap when Cap dies in Civil War, but that obviously didn't happen. He just aged up and went back to his life and his love in Peggy. And through this show, even like you see Bucky overcoming the last of the brainwashing when he went to Wakanda, being free from all that and dealing with the after effects of being the Winter Soldier and trying to get to a place where he is a good man and being comfortable with himself. And I think also, like, and many people have pointed out that I sort of sit in fan circles with and have listened to their podcasts or have spoken to them about that. The world is always in need of a Cap and a Bucky. So to have that by the end of this show is good. And it's very sort of on the nose America branding that Sam Wilson is Captain America and his nephews refer to him as Uncle Sam. So there's a bit of, like, you know, horseplay with that kind of stuff.
And as patriotism in that. Yeah.
Yes. And as a character, Sam is very deserving of it. It's not always a character that I've gelled with completely well because other than Winter Soldier, it's just been every time he's seen, it's like I'm Steve's best friend, and that's kind of the start and end of who I am as a character, really. Unless he's in the room, I don't do much, especially if it's an Ant-Man. It's really important. Cap never finds out about this, as he says in his... But who gives a fuck? You're Falcon. You're a hero in your own right. Anthony Mackie is a person, fantastic actor and person, and his comments on Captain America recently that have sent the internet into fucking meltdown because they clearly did. Oh, he doesn't understand like what Cap is. No, he understands perfectly that Cap is the ideology of what America should be or what they wish it could be, but is not at the moment. And he's trying to sort of be the best of that. And he comes like draws off his own personal circumstance from like what his father and grandfather had to go through, and he's lucky enough to be playing one of the biggest superheroes in a fucking franchise, like in world movies, and he's really lucky for that, and he fucking appreciates that, and he's a great fucking man, and like to you know, sort of like be a role model for kids like of ethnic minorities to look up to is just fucking amazing, especially in the landscape of the fucking world at the moment. We need a bit of hope and a bit of fucking joy, and this man is going to bring it to us on Friday the 14th. So that, yeah. So if you don't think, if Sam not my Cap, fuck off. He's Captain America, whether you like it or not. And if you don't like it, go and fucking watch something else. It really doesn't matter. We sort of get a play that he didn't take up the shield, so he had it and then donated it to the Smithsonian because it didn't feel right, because the government kind of talked him out of it, only for them to launch their own white version of Captain America, which the government, any government, whether it be 2021 or now, you could totally see that being a thing. You could totally be like, oh yeah, you shouldn't do it. It should be a museum piece. Like, we should honor Steve and his legacy. But then we're going to make our own version of Captain America anyway, behind your back, because we don't think Steve chose the right guy, even though he then goes on to prove that Steve chose the perfect replacement for him. I think because we talked about this when this came out. We did a live stream of the last episode. The only thing I've ever really had a problem with this has been the fact that it felt like a movie cut up into 6 45-minute to hour-long episodes. That's the only, because this was at the point where we didn't have Marvel television. It was just like they were developing Marvel projects and still like kind of maybe shooting them as movies. And obviously COVID would change episode counts for things like WandaVision and other things. So it wasn't made like a TV show. It was made like a big budget Marvel production and then sort of made into a TV show. And this is one of the few like that where I'm like, it doesn't kind of just flow. There's points where it's like we got to stop here because this is an episode. Like, there's some great stuff in it. I think Isaiah Bradley as a character to bring credence and sort of a fucking, almost like, not like a fear, but it sort of shows Sam like, you know, the world is already sort of what they've done to one version of Captain America like him. And it's like, are they going to do the same to him, or can he be the one that sort of, you know, basically shows the world to sort of like shines a light on everyone to sort of be like, no, this is how it is. Like, you know, I'm doing this for the benefit of not just America, but the world. But like, he's doing it for the greater good, not just for a thing of like being told to do it by the government. He's being outspoken. He's doing it for like justice and the American way and all the things you said, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Very good, very nice.
Very, very good. Nice, yeah.
I'm yet to rewatch it. I want to do I'll crack open the old Steelbook and try and binge them as a 6 episode, like kind of as compactly as I can before I see the next one, because I'm looking forward to going back on it, because it's not a series that a lot of the Disney Plus stuff I've not revisited a lot. And this I
feel like yesterday. I feel the thing is, even with this show being, not to cut you off, sorry, but I feel like even with this being 2021, I still feel like when we watched it yesterday, I feel like we've seen it every week and it's always been there, which I guess back in the Infinity Saga days, when you go from film to film, and all right, the schedule was pretty yearly, other than 2009 obviously being a gap, and then the worldwide pandemic that had stopped. Well, you know, we didn't have any Marvel films until 21, didn't we? Yeah. So other than the year gap between those 2 years, like, we didn't. This schedule was quite consistent, but although there has been a length of time between this last Captain America project and this new one, this still feels like yesterday. And like you, I've not gone back to rewatch Falcon Winter Soldier yet, and I will try and do it through them all. optimistic lens because obviously it's Captain America season. We're going to watch it anyway. But it will be interesting to see if we still have the same thoughts, more or less, or if we view it through a completely different lens now.
It'd be nice to view it
New World
knowing
and
where
even
it goes,
afterwards.
won't it?
Exactly. Knowing where it goes will massively help, not just for this movie, but also for Thunderbolts, because I'll rewatch it for this, but then when it comes to Thunderbolts in like 4 months' time, then I'll probably whack on Falcon Winter Soldier again, but for John Walker's perspective. Oh, and Bucky.
Yes.
Because I feel like I might give this more of a critical lens, like both times, like later on this year.
Yeah, you get
But yeah.
for their story, like in terms of the Captain America
Exactly.
story, and also for like you
Yeah.
say for John Walker and things like that. Yeah, it's something that I bought it when it came out, but I've still not watched it again since. But I like the luxury of like I can just sit down now, know where it goes and where it ends, and just sort of just
Massively
appreciate
helps.
the greatness within it because of the success of this and how well it was received. Is why the writers on this were then put on to make like, well, let's have a Captain America film with Sam Wilson then, and then that's how we've got to where we are now. And I'm looking forward to how this then. It's almost like a bridge between one trilogy and another. Like it's a bridge between the first Captain America trilogy and the next one, essentially. So, and I'm looking forward to how, when we finally get to Cap at the end of this series, it's not like now we've got to wait for whenever they make a second season or more, because we know that now there is a full-on movie where we can see Sam Wilson as Captain America, and then you can sort of you can then put him against Steve in terms of he's always going to be compared to him, but it'll be like, well, let's actually see Anthony Mackie in a movie as Captain America before you start fucking judging him on whether he's worthy to be him, because I think he's more than capable of it, and I look forward to
Anthony Mackie's contributions to films that I even like. One, fair enough, I've not heard of. I don't feel like they've been, if I want to say, particularly like mainstream as such. But Anthony Mackie's filmography goes on a lot longer, even in the terms of years of acting, like at least over the last 20 years. I'm not saying he was completely new by the time Winter Soldier rolled around, but I certainly hadn't come across Anthony Mackie prior to 2014. But even just looking at his acting chops, like a lot of the stuff early Spike Lee, not early Spike Lee, but he was in a few Spike Lee movies earlier on in his career. But I didn't know he had 20 years worth of films sort of under his belt already. So the fact that he's now not only just being a worthy Captain America successor, but I feel like this is going to be his career as an actor to finally get that action movie under his belt where he is the main star. So I'm just happy for Anthony Mackie as well as the character and where that all goes anyway.
Yeah.
But good on you, Mackie, and hopefully it will be the first of at least a trilogy worth of solo movies. And other things.
It'd be nice to see this version of Cap then like what he does when he leads the Avengers, because I know
exactly.
like circumstance has been like crap, because it would have been like him, T'Challa as like the leaders of like the Earthbound Avengers stuff, and then the more cosmic and spacey stuff would have been like Strange and Captain Marvel. But obviously, like you've lost a great like leading man, and now you've got another one that's people are putting so much pressure on because it's Cap, but they don't get that legacy characters exist in comics and media all the time. There's multiple Spider-Man. There's like multiple Spider-Men in many films and games, and one of the biggest video games of the last couple of years, Miles is a main player in that, and he's also Spider-Man. It's not like we'll downplay you and you're like Spider-Boy or something, but it's a lot of unwanted and unnecessary pressure for a man who's already proven that he can play in this universe. He's a fantastic actor, and I'm really looking forward to being like, so what is it when all your other leaders that he's been around and been part of are gone? When he has to step up and be the leader, what does that look like? I'm interested in that. And then what that looks like when he's then in that otherworldly Avengers level threat, like when he has to take the lead and sort of
he has to go
be
above
the
and
calm
beyond
voice
the
in the room.
typical Call of Duty.
Yeah, because he can more than, from what we've seen in the trailers, he can more than handle himself in a solo adventure. I'm really looking forward to what it looks like when he is Cap and the Avengers.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And
So
we can
pending a
eventually
rewatch,
cap off this trilogy.
because we obviously
Yeah,
get
sorry,
we got John Walker. Sorry, so John Walker is the Captain America chosen by the government. He's given a super soldier serum. Sam isn't, and there's a joke about that in one of the TV spots recently. Oh, I wish I took that serum when he's looking at Red Hulk. So we get that. We get the tragedy of John Walker being sort of like both knighted and then dethroned as Captain America, all in the space of a few episodes, because the serum drives him to a point where he kills one of the flag smashers out in broad daylight with the shield, which brings the shield and the whole the Captain America moniker into sort of disrepute, really, because then it's like John Walker can't do it because he's just killed someone on the street. So it goes back to Sam being like, I should have just taken this up in the first place, and sort of basically preparing himself to be ready to. Because I think what we're meant to take from this is that he took it to do it, and then obviously was talked out of it, but kind of never really believed in himself that he should have been Captain America. But is more than ready to do it by the time we get to the finale. And to see him in that suit, it's a shame the suit's changing, because I like that more white version of the suit that we get at the end of this. I love his dynamic with Bucky, how that's grown since they met each other in, well, obviously met briefly in Winter Soldier, but spoke more in Civil War because they were on the same side.
Yeah.
And I would love to see Sebastian Stan in some capacity in Captain America: Brave New World, but we shall find out next week whether that's a thing.
Yes.
So without a full-on rewatch of this, because there's so much more details, and obviously the villain has points in terms of its, people that were displaced by the snap that are then back and things like that, and how that's affected the world and how people are being treated because, like, you didn't exist for 5 years, so you have like no money or funds or credit score or whatever, so the government can't help you. Basically, like, big fuck you to people that they don't want to help, or because of the extraterrestrial circumstance. They have points on that, but then there's also bits where they're like, but we need people to remember she's the villain. All right, so she's just going to blow this building up and kill some people just cause. So without remembering all the absolute in detail stuff, I don't think I can fairly say that it's not the worst, because obviously it's a different format. So I'd say I'll rank it for now on par with First Avenger, because it's the start of a new Cap's journey, because it's kind of like the origin but in more long form. Dodgy sort of where we cut to make the episodes aside, and a nice appearance from Batroc Zilliper. I would say I'll rank it with First Avenger, and this will be an 8 for me at the moment. But I look forward to how this sort of feels once I've watched this, and then Cap 4 this weekend.
Absolutely. But also I'm excited to see, not trying to recap off with Falcon and Winter Soldier as such, but like we said, Shang-Chi 2, any other plot threads from Falcon and Winter Soldier, the Power Broker, and the whole Emily Van Camp thing, what's going on with that? It's just, as much as we've discussed all of the phases and we've kind of gone through the whole saga, there's still enough room on the chopping board in terms of where we could all go post multiverse saga or during the saga, if any of it's going to be relevant. As much as we're giving praise to Anthony Mackie and Captain America's finally getting his legacy, and I mean, we've spoken about enough about the Don Cheadle Armor War situation, but hopefully we can do a separate discussion for if and when, hopefully, Don Cheadle gets that chance to live the Iron Man legacy out in future.
Yeah, from the TV series that became a film that's also not happening at the minute.
Exactly. Is it cancelled like the Blade thing or what? Like, exactly. I'm just hoping, given enough time, hopefully the next few months we'll know, because this is just shit that's been sitting in the dust for a long ass time now. Pandemic aside and all that. Hopefully we can just have these episodes like this where we can look back across not just the Cap trilogy, not just the Thor stuff, but we can go back and do an Iron Man. We can do We could voice new stuff like a Blade. We can go further with Shang-Chi. We can do Spider-Man when Sony decide to actually give the rights to Marvel. We can fully know where Tom Holland's going. I've enjoyed this. This has been nice. I just hope we can have more of a concrete idea of when we can actually go over multiple characters that aren't just Cap and Cap and Cap.
Because and I think the main problem's always been like there was a sort of phase 4 was kind of like always, it was like in between. It was before they'd completely nailed down the idea of we're going for the multiverse saga, and then building towards a villain that's now not being built towards because of Jonathan Majors, of like the incidents with him. And instead of recasting, then just completely throw that aside. So there's never been the building thing of like, you know, Thanos was just done well because he was an idea. It was like, we'll do these characters, and if we can get to an Avengers film, that's good. And then we've got to an Avengers film. So what would we ideally build towards? Well, we build towards the Infinity Saga because that's one of the most famous, you know, Avengers things and like one of the like big bad for this whole series to build towards. So he's just like in it, like at the end of movies, like here and there. Like it didn't need to be a thing of like, okay, like Kang's here, Kang's there. He would have been like the purveyor of the rings for Shang-Chi, which is now apparently being reworked to Galactus. That's fine, but in that thing of focusing where you're going in terms of the villain, you've not built up where the heroes are and what they've carried on doing. No. Like, I hope we see as much as we're going to see Cap in this. I hope we find out sort of what he did in the gap between the end of the series and now, what he's been doing as Cap since then, like how that's kind of built up. Same with Bucky when we get to Thunderbolts and all those characters. Like you say, we've not built up the core people that would be like, well, these are the characters that we're going to be following and that we're going to be rooting for when we get to that next, you know, saga ending villain. But we don't know what they've been up to or where they've been because they've kind of been sideline work. Because we've got to introduce new characters and we've got to like introduce like where this villain's coming from. Like, what's the core group of Avengers? What do they look like? And build the relationship and their journey with them as you did with the first lot of Avengers or the main guys. Because there's going to be loads of characters in all these films coming up, like Doomsday, like Secret Wars. But give us your core ones that we've built through this, like you did with Steve, like you did with Tony. So then we get to that point, it then feels like another ending for like these characters, or like you get to a point where you're like, you know, it's all these characters, but like Cap's the figurehead of it.
Yeah,
you know, that
exactly.
kind of thing. Like I want to know, you know, how we get to that point and focus more on the heroes that we like and have seen and how they come into it. But yeah, as a first, this is our first main MCU project of the year in terms of Cap, because then I believe the next one is Daredevil, and then we've got Thunderbolts. And then
there isn't anything official unless Blade
Fantastic Four in July.
Of course,
Wonder Man in December, and other things. So kicking off the MCU this year, we had a nice sort of quiet year where it was just, apart from some animated shows like the final season of What If and things like that, we've had it was Deadpool and Wolverine. It was a nice sort of like a step back from it. Now let's full frontal into this world. Let's see where these characters are, what they're doing, and I can't wait to see more of Sam. Hopefully Bucky, we'll find out. And we'll talk about the new Captain America film starring Anthony Mackie as Captain America next week, Connor.
Good stuff. Good stuff.
In terms of
again, to go back on Unresolved Threads. Sorry. I'm on the tangent about unresolved plot threads and stuff. Sorry.
We can do that.
I'm going to my. What? Huh?
You can do unresolved plot threads in the next one. In terms of the character of Captain America and sort of like the trilogy and like the franchise that it is on its own, where does it rank with you in terms of compared to like other trilogies within the MCU or characters in the superhero genre in general? Like, where is it for you? I don't know where.
As far as MCU goes, this is number one, despite a certain bug man being a complicated one because it's half and half. And I mean, yeah, I don't really need to refer to by name because he's the Spider-Bug. As far as trilogies, just in general, it's up there again with a favorite of yours, Back to the Future. I mean, nothing like it at all, but it's just a great threesome of movies that is going to continue and been done in a different way through Anthony Mackie's portrayal. Trilogies, it's honestly, the OG Star Wars trilogy. Not quite up there with the prequels. Rather, the prequels aren't up there with my favorites. I would put the Captain America trilogy above the prequels. I'm sorry. But the Star Wars prequels for me are Episode 2, The Clone Wars 7 seasons, and Episode 3. Episode 1 is in its own timeline somewhere. No, just yeah, it's a great trilogy, amongst my favorite of all time for me. Again, the whole trilogy thing is such a funny conversation because I feel like even if there were more that I can think of, by the time we think about it, there'll be another movie out. So technically, this isn't a trilogy. The Chris Evans trilogy is up there as amongst my favorites, but Anthony Mackie's movie number 1 is going to be a good project to see whether or not that trilogy vision will be planned out, which I'm very hopeful and optimistic for. But yeah, Captain America all the way. Like, there's, as far as Marvel go, if they can do another trilogy in vain, not quite literally through legacy characters, but if they can do a trilogy as badass as these Captain America films, then I'm here for it. I'd give a shout out to the 4 ones as well, except they are massively with 4-3. They are quite different, and a lot's happened in between films anyway.
They're
and
almost
the Iron
like
Man films are
anthology, aren't they? Really. Sorry, like the same characters, but they're so sort of almost disconnected in certain ways that, like, it's almost like a loose trilogy at this point, or a loose foursome, because then Love and Thunder takes it a completely different direction that has since not been well received.
As you mentioned, shout out to the Dark Knight trilogy and the Raimi trilogy, Maguire. Trilogies are great. They're fun.
Trilogies are fun.
Deadpool. That's a trilogy. Deadpool. Yeah,
True.
Just
so this is film
Mm.
number 5 in Phase 5.
Sounds about right. Yeah. Because Quantum Mania, Jesus, that it's weird that Falcon and Winter Soldier feels like yesterday, but Quantum Mania feels so long ago, and yet that's only 2 years away. That sounds
we're
right.
coming to the end of Phase 5 in terms of where we're at in the films, and I mean the series sort of just.
So Fantastic Four is going to be the first of Phase 6.
Yes. At the moment in Phase 6, it's both Avengers films, Fantastic Four and Spider-Man 4.
Is Spider-Man 4 listed as like before Avengers, or is it like in between the Avengers?
In between, I think.
In between.
You could have made Thunderbolts at the beginning of like Phase 6, and then like because you had 7 in Phase 4. So in terms of TV series, in Phase 5, Secret Invasion, Loki Season 2, What If 2 and 3, Echo, Agatha, Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, even though it's a different universe, Daredevil and Ironheart.
Ironheart, yes, I knew there was something Iron related coming out. Yeah, Ironheart. Okay. Oh well, okay, fine.
And then Phase 6 at the moment, Fantastic Four, Avengers, Untitled Spider-Man No Way Home sequel, Avengers.
Secret Wars.
There will obviously be more in that. It won't just be a short phase like that.
Yeah.
In terms of, you think the saga itself is like 2021 to 2027, like over 6 years, where you got like 11 years between these, and it was like maximum like 2 or 3 a year, and then you obviously had, because of COVID and like the backlog, it would have been 2020 to about 2028 or 29 would have been nice, but we'll see if they stick the landing, because we're obviously running out of things to put in it. Eyes of Wakanda, Zombies, Wonder Man, and Vision Quest is definitely in development at this point for a 2026 release. 8 to 10 episode count for Wonder Man. They still don't know. That's always a good sign. We will see you for the beginning of the end of Phase 5 then for next week. I hope you've enjoyed us talking about Captain America. and the various people that have played him. If you're going to see Captain America: Brave New World this weekend, as today's date when this releases, that's when it's out. So let us know if you're going to see it. Are you going to see it in like 2D, 3D, IMAX, 4DX? Are you going to a midnight showing if there's one near you? Are you just catching it whenever you can, or are you die hard set on seeing it as soon as it's released? Let us know in the comments or email us, which I will nearly did Connor's job, but do that. Send us some stuff. And the next, there's not really an MC. I mean, for the Fantastic Four film, we can do the other Fantastic Four movies, but there's nothing we can specifically do for Thunderbolts. So, Superman, we can obviously do the other Supermen.
That would be quite a few to do.
It would be, yes, especially Dean Cain, the bastard. Connor, where can the good people find us next week?
So, Blue Sky, Twitter, Twitch. I had a Twitch. Am I saying Twitch?
We can Twitch now because of the two screens. We need to do that at some point.
Yeah. We can Twitch on the Twitch screen. Twitch, Instagram, Blue Sky. nerdbiblecontact@gmail.com. Streaming leaks, I keep joking about it, but links retroactively will be applied. Xbox when we eventually set up Twitch, Xbox gamer tags, PlayStation networks, Nintendo IDs, Steam IDs, all that will be in the description somewhere. Hopefully at Marvel's offices at some point in LA would be nice, or the BBC studios in England would be great. But then, you can send us an email, a suggestion, give us your ranking of the Captain America movies and what you would like to see in sequels going forward, or any suggestions around the Hulk at nerdbiblecontact@gmail.com.
Exactly that. We will see you next week for the new Captain America film. We hope you've enjoyed this retrospective on the previous ones and what other ones you'd like us to do if it's not just for a film coming out that we talk about old rope, old money for new money for old rope, whatever the saying is. I don't remember. It's just I'm just
I know
at
the saying. I can't remember it. Yeah.
Goodbye, everyone, and see you next week.
Bye bye, America Smash.